Hello, and welcome to US History and Elections, where today I'll be doing another video on the upcoming presidential election. And following the recent Democratic primaries on June 2nd, earlier this week, uh, Joe Biden, who was previously the presumptive Democratic nominee, has now reached the threshold he needs for delegate counts and delegate numbers, so he is now the Democratic nominee for president. And following this, the total focus of the Democratic Party in the presidential election has now gone to the possible VP pick, vice president, that Biden will be choosing. Now, he has already confirmed that it will be a woman. He has pledged and promised that in the last televised debate with Bernie Sanders. And there are quite a few candidates up for grabs, such as Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Gretchen Whitmer. But today we're going to be looking at the possible candidate who has definitely campaigned the most for the position and has publicly said that she would love to be on the ticket, and that is Stacey Abrams. And she ran for the governor of Georgia back in 2018, and she came very close to beating the current Secretary of State in Georgia, Brian Kemp, however narrowly lost the election. But in a Republican state such as Georgia, this near victory was quite intriguing and good for the Democrats, showing that they might have a chance in Georgia down the road. Now we're going to be doing a prediction if Stacey Abrams does end up being on the Democratic ticket alongside Joe Biden, and what could play out in November. So first of all, we're just going to fill in all the saved Republican and Democratic states, and we just go through the West. I'll leave out part of Nebraska, second district, Missouri, Arkansas, going through the South, and I think that's all the ones that, Indiana as well, and Alaska. And now we're going to be going through the safe Democratic ones. These do not have a chance of flipping to the Republicans, and then just go through the northeastern states. And here we are. This is what we currently have. The Democrats with 183 to the Republicans 125, and a toss-up of 230. Now, this is with Stacey Abrams as a VP pick, so the possible effects that could bring out, voter turnout and increased competitiveness in certain states will be seen. However, we're going to be going through the likely Republican states that probably won't change, and this would be Iowa and Ohio both solidly went for Trump back in 2016, and especially with Stacey Abrams, these are not the sort of voters that would be too interested in voting Democratic after voting Republican just because of her being selected as the VP. And I'm also going to characterize Nebraska's second district as a likely Republican win. Now we're going to go to the Democrats' likely wins. New Hampshire, definitely been trending Democratic. Maine out large. And which other ones? New Mexico, Colorado, both trending strongly in Democrats' favor recently, and also be characterizing Minnesota as a likely Democratic state to win. And this puts up 213 to 150, still another 175 electoral votes up for grabs. However, this is where it does become interesting. I'm also going to characterize Virginia as a likely state. Maybe in 2016 you could have put this in the lean margin, but definitely now it's definitely a strong Democratic state, and there's no signs of that possibly changing in the upcoming election. Now we're going to be going over to the lean Republican states, and first of all we're going to be going with the state of Texas. Beto O'Rourke had a good run in the Senate, and Hillary Clinton also brought it in within a lean margin back in 2016, but again, Stacey Abrams probably will not bring out the necessary voters, and even then, there's probably not enough demographics in Texas to actually make it be going to the Democrats unless something huge happened, and that's why it's going to be a lean Republican state. And also Maine's second district, I think, is definitely going to be going to the president, especially in a scenario where we have a black woman. Maine is overwhelmingly white, about 94 to 96%, not really going to have a major effect up in the Northeast. Then we're going to be moving over to the Democrats, lean states, and this is where it might get interesting. Nevada went to Hillary Clinton back in 2016. No signs of that slipping and going to the Republicans. And also the first state that I'm going to be characterizing as a proper flip, and that is Michigan. Went for Trump back in 2016 by roughly 11,000 votes, but there's no signs of Trump consolidating or even building on his victory here, and will probably fall back in Democratic hands, which it has been for the past 3 decades. And yep, so 248 to 189, Democrats need 22 at this point, and this is where the effect of Stacey Abrams would probably come into play in these very competitive states. Now, first of all, I'm going to be saying the ones that will probably be going to Republicans, and this is going to be Florida. Let me just move the map back there. Florida, Arizona, and Wisconsin. And I've put these 3 states in the Republican category just because the demographics in these states probably would not have that much of an effect or that much inclination to vote for the Democrats. And, Stacey Abrams being a black woman from Georgia, the only Arizona is very Latinx, high population, and Wisconsin is white working class background. And I highly doubt that these 2 states, which Trump carried, somewhat solidly back in, Arizona by 3 points, and I think only about 1 point in Wisconsin, but I don't see them flipping in favor of Joe Biden and Abrams. However, some states that I do see flipping would be Pennsylvania, historically very Democratic in the past few decades, and I'll leave that till, and also North Carolina. Now, this state has a very high black percentage, very high African American population, and especially given the protests that are going on surrounding George Floyd's death and police brutality and Black Lives Matter, this could have very important effects in states like North Carolina and Georgia. However, North Carolina voted for Barack Obama back in 2008. So it shows that there was a chance that a Democrat could win here, and especially with Stacey Abrams, a black woman, the first in presidential history on a major candidate's ticket, on a major party's ticket, it could definitely sway some young black voters to come out and vote for the Democrats, which did not happen back in 2012 or 2016. Now, at this point, the Democrats have already won the election with currently 283 to 239, and I've left out Georgia, which is Abrams' home state. And despite her amazing showing back in 2018, I still think this would be a tilt Republican state, because as much as you want to say that it could show a possible demographic change towards the Democrats, especially across the Sun Belt, but definitely in Georgia, with the Atlanta suburbs becoming more Democratic, or at least leaning that way in the past few years. I think that was the best case scenario for Stacey Abrams back in 2018, and there were, calls that Brian Kemp had a conflict of interest when he was Secretary of State. There was whole, calls by Abrams that there was voter fraud or voter suppression in black communities, but there was never anything solidly proven about this. And as Brian Kemp is now the governor, not much has been done to change these allegations that were brought up by the Abrams campaign. So this is the final map that I have if Stacey Abrams was selected as the Democratic VP alongside the Democratic nominee Joe Biden, and it goes in favor of the Democrats ever so slightly. Of course, at the moment, this is a very positive time for the Democrats nationwide. Trump's approval rating is slipping, especially with the protests going across the US. In every state there's been protests, showing that there is definitely unrest and discontent at the current political system as it is, and whether that will actually in turn lead to a voter increase in turnout, in participation in November, we'll have to wait and see. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all again soon.